Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the file of the youth. Now, the year 2023 is dubbed as the Year for Arab Youth, which is a presidential initiative that was launched in May 2022 with the President's meeting with the Arab youth and sports ministers at the Arab League headquarters. We're also going to be looking at the agenda of the World Youth Forum for this year. Now, the forum decided to direct its financing to not holding the events as it does usually every year in the Red Sea Resort of Sharm el-Sheikh, but to locate them and direct them to development initiatives. We're going to be focusing on this file tonight, but before we start doing that, let's check out some of the main stories making the news today. And we'll start off with the directives of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi that were directed to Egypt, sending 5 military planes to Syria and Turkey on Tuesday, carrying quick medical aid. Earlier in the day, President el-Sisi held a phone call with the Syrian counterpart Bashar al-Assad, during which he offered his deep condolences over the victims of the devastating earthquake and wished a speedy recovery for the injured. Presidential spokesperson Ahmed Fahmy said that President el-Sisi affirmed Egypt's solidarity with Syria amid the painful loss, saying he had given directives to provide all possible aid and relief assistance to Syria. For his side, the Syria president expressed his appreciation to President el-Sisi for his well wishes, stressing Syria's pride in the historical and fraternal relations that bind the two nations and peoples. In another phone call with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President el-Sisi offered his deep condolences over the victims of the devastating earthquake and wished a speedy recovery for the injured people. President el-Sisi also affirmed Egypt's solidarity with the Turkish people and expressed Egypt's readiness to send all possible humanitarian aid and relief assistance to Turkey. For his side, the Turkish president expressed his appreciation to President el-Sisi, hailing the historical ties that bind the Egyptian and Turkish peoples. The meetings of the Libyan military committees 5+5 started in Cairo on Tuesday in the presence of special representatives of the UN Secretary General for Libya, Abdallah Bathili, and representatives of Sudan, Chad and Niger, as well as members of the National Committee concerned with the Libyan file. The UN Libyan envoy said Libya's Joint Military Committee achieved positive developments, hailing the fruitful talks held with the ambassadors in Sudan, Chad, Niger, who expressed readiness to back the UN Libya's efforts. Basili has expressed his desire to visit Sudan, Chad and Niger to complete the exit of mercenaries from Libya. He stated that parties are working to achieve rapid coordination among them to accomplish full implementation of the ceasefire agreement, which he said was closely related to the political development. And the Sudanese dialogue concluded in Cairo today, discussing a range of contentious issues, and was attended by 75 Sudanese political representatives. An inter-Sudanese dialogue workshop witnessed the signing of a political consensus document. Egypt hosted various Sudanese representatives of political parties, movements, civil society organizations, in addition to a number of diplomats from the USA, Europe, South Sudan and the Arab League. A delegation of 70 leaders of the Forces of Freedom and Change Democratic Bloc converged for the talks brokered by Cairo. These are some of the stories making the news today, but now turning our attention to the youth. And now 2023 was dubbed as the Year for Arab Youth. That was launched in implementation of President Sisi's initiative. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The 2023 Arab Youth Year has been launched at the Arab League headquarters in implementation of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's initiative during his meeting with Arab youth and sports ministers in May 2022. This came in a press conference attended by the Minister of Youth and Sports, Ashraf Subhi, as well as the Arab League Assistant Secretary General for Social Affairs, Haifa Abu Ghazala, who said that a package of integrated youth activities will be featured throughout 2023. Minister Subhi said the initiative would host a variety of activities and events in Arab countries this year through the launch of more than 44 programs. Last May, President Sisi suggested dedicating the year 2023 for the Arab youth, during which activities would be organized alternately among Arab capitals throughout the year. The President also called for examining the possibility of establishing a union for Arab youth to act as a bridge and a platform that contributes to maximizing interaction amongst the Arab youth to get acquainted with the common factors as well as the cultural specificities of each country. The head of state reiterated that the youth sector represents a fundamental dimension of countries' national security, and there is a great importance to develop the youth's understanding and awareness so as to enhance stability, security and peace as a main objective and provide factors of progress and success. The President also stressed the importance of the engagement of the Arab youth in digital transformation, programming and rapid technological progress, which impact the future of job opportunities. He referred to modern technological universities recently established for this purpose in Egypt. Sisi affirmed the energy of the youth is a great potential on which joint Arab capabilities must capitalize in order to protect Arab youth from extremist ideologies and prevent instilling any destructive or false ideas in them. The program supports and empowers Arab youth in their community initiatives. Each of these youth applied for the program by pitching the community initiatives that they are passionate about creating. Projects range from the environment, human rights and gender issues to communication in the media, education and training, all with the focus of enhancing and creating connectedness. The program is essentially a learning experience, not just a program that offers grants. It offers a cultural experience where the youth are also given the opportunity to connect from different regions and areas, sharing different views and experiences.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio to shed more light on the youth file by Dr. Batran, the former head of the Telecommunications Committee at the Egyptian Parliament and the foresight expert. Dr. Batran, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Dr. Batran, now, this year is dubbed as 2023, the year for Arab youth. Now, this idea was launched and was suggested by President Sisi as an initiative during his meeting with the youth and the sports ministers in May 2022 at the Arab League Parliament, and it has been taken very seriously, really working on engaging all the Arab youth, organizing many events across different Arab capitals around the Middle East, engaging in 44 programs. How much of how many benefits can we garner from such an initiative, trying to gather the Arab youth all together, get them all on the same page in terms of jobs, skills, telecommunications, startups, everything?
Well, we're not trying to get them on the same page together, but we're trying to get them on the same page of the tomorrow, the future, their common future, if you will, but based on their own personal talents and capacities and abilities and so on. So we really have to not only take this year seriously as it is the year of youth, but take youth seriously, because youth are the tomorrow. If we don't take tomorrow seriously, there is no point of living today. There is no point of building and making everything good and great, and infrastructure, economy, gold mined in Egypt and bought from abroad, stocked in our banks and so on, or our central bank, because they are the tomorrow. They have to know that they are the tomorrow. They have to shoulder the responsibility of tomorrow, and we have to help them to excel in order to be able. They have to belong to their small families, communities, cities, country, and to the region and continent, to the Arab region and to the African continent, because this is who we are. So I'm building my own business here, and I need to partner in Africa, or another partner in the Arab world, in Saudi Arabia, or in Yemen, or in Oman, for example. So partnerships is important, teamwork is extremely important, and all of this, if you don't instill in young people growing up and give them the proof, the experience of trying to work with a colleague from a different culture, from a different gender, and succeeding, and trying to do it by myself and not succeeding, or looking at other people, seeing how they excelled by working together. So all the values that we're trying to talk about collectively as a community and as a country and as a region is really given to our youth through the various initiatives, particularly if we're talking technology and the future. Technology is extremely important, and how do they adopt technology in their way of life, on a social level, on their social media, but how to use their social media to incur an income, maybe by being a blogger or by using social media as a marketing tool. So everybody has their own way of doing things, but you have tools. So we want you to, and also you want to use social media responsibly. You want to make sure that you don't break the privacy of your own family, your own security. You don't want to plagiarism and using photos photographed by other people, or information, or copyrights, and so on. So all of this, if I want to be a scientist as a young person, and I'm taught about copyrights via social media, I will ultimately be correct scientist with ethics, the ethical requirements required of a scientist. So whether we are this young person we're talking about, or we're preparing for the future, wants to be a blogger, or he wants to be a scientist, or he wants to be an AI engineer, there is a common platform, like you originally said. There is a common page of commonality of teamwork, of responsibility, patriotism, of ethics and values for ourselves and for all our neighbors as well. And this is how we create a better future.
Yes. Well, Doctor, you've touched upon a very important purpose for such an initiative, which was dealing with the ideologies and abusing the technologies and the social media, dealing with rumors and false information, dealing with extremist ideologies and all of these sorts. Do you feel that these are maybe challenges that Arab youth face, but do you also feel that these are similar challenges to the youth in the international community all around the world they're facing? Or as Arab youth, do you feel that we have certain set of challenges and things that we need to overcome as opposed to the rest of the international youth?
It's a complicated answer. It's a yes or no. It's a yes and no answer. So yes, we do. Our youth, our Egyptian youth and Arab youth and international youth share a commonality of threats and challenges. But at the same time, we have special, let's say, more enhanced challenges. But I would not say our Arab, maybe also some other Eastern, not only Arab, but Eastern youth. We have been adopting a lot of ideologies or Western culture. A problem that we faced growing up, and I'm talking my generation and maybe a couple of generations after me, we were not very sure of our Egyptian culture and identity. We always thought that if it's imported, it's a better thing. If it's imported, it's the ultimate fashion, it's the ultimate technology. And if it's imported from certain countries as well. But with time, everything progress, change for the better, or progress just change. So you need to really, so we are, a lot of the Eastern cultures, part of our strength is our culture. And this is something that we share because we have been part of cultures that have been there for not hundreds of years, but thousands and thousands of years. And this is, it grounds us, but at one point it really disturbed young people growing up. It's no, I don't want this, I'm looking at something else. I want to change now. No, you change and evolve within being an Egyptian, within being of Pharaonic origin, within being of an Arab origin, within being an Indian or a Chinese origin. We're talking about countries, and this is a very important challenge because when you make people doubt their identities, you can really take them. And this is how I believe that certain people of generations, not really very young, were caught on to the tides of extremism, if you will, because they doubted themselves. So I'm doubting my real Egyptian culture. El Hussein or Pharaonically or old quartiers of Egypt are part of our richness, not are part of pulling us back. They are part of our power, catapulting us forward. And it's the same for countries as old as ourselves. You mentioned also technology and rumors. Young people today, they face, all young people of the world, they face, how can I make sure that the information of the validity of any information I get over online? So we have to make sure of the source. It is an inherent capacity or ability that they gain with time. I want to make sure what is this website, this source of information, how many people go to it, what's their background. They are geared now to look into this because they have been fed information that might not have been the best. And I'm not only talking on a political level, maybe on a health level. That, for example, soy milk is the best milk that you can use, and now they say that no. Very scientific data and research is saying that soy milk is not the best milk alternative that one should drink if they cannot use milk. So now we have to look and make sure, because we want to keep our health, we want to keep our bodies strong and to keep us forward in our lives as long as God ordains that we should live. Yes. It's really common challenges and more particular challenges, but they're all challenges of maturing, growing up, and creating responsible and income generating human beings. Because you want to be a responsible human being, you want to be able to keep yourself. The United Nations used to call it human security, the ability of possessing our own human security. And I used to ask, first hearing about what is human security, they said the ability to dodge dangers when you know they're coming. There are certain areas, for example, in certain countries where they know a tsunami is going to happen within a certain period of time. And people know it's going to come and they still stay because they have nowhere to go. They don't have the ability to move, the income to maybe go somewhere else, the education to be able to incur an income somewhere else. So we stay at the mercy of the tsunami, calling it at the mercy of whatever divine being they create in, or of course everything is in the hand of Allah, but at the same time you have to know,
do your own work,
know how to dodge a danger. So human security, if you create youth within our region and our continent capable of owning their own human security, there is problems here, I will go there. I don't mean changing your country, just changing your home sometimes. And Egypt has, going back to Egypt, which and a topic that I really like to talk about is the topic of unplanned and dangerous housing. Now Egypt, because the country has created so many and built so many social level and middle income level housing, people can change homes easily. They have done those very long payment plans. So they have made it more at the hands of a young person to maybe change for work reasons, change location, change a city, for work reasons, for any, for a human security reason. If they think that their job is somewhere else, I don't need to stay here where there is no job, and I can go in another city where there is a job, and there is a good home, and there is a standard home that I can live and exist and take my children and take my young family and go to school, send them to school and have my job. So this is the human security and ultimately the Haya Karima, the decent life that the country is aiming to, and we're all working together to reach.
Yes. Dr. Batran, now this initiative aims to unite and get all the Arab youth together for this year. Now, Egypt in particular really worked on empowering the youth over the past decade as well, since 2011. Everybody realized how much power the youth can have in changing the way of life in a country, and with all the Arab Springs and everything. So Egypt has been working on it since the last decade. Do you feel that the rest of the Arab world are on the same page? Are some of them ahead of us? Are some of them behind us, lagging behind in terms of empowering youth? Because it's not just giving them a push and a clap and a pat on the back. You're really giving them the responsibility. You're actually economically dependent on the youth and their projects and their startups. So do you feel that all the Arab countries are on the same sort of pace of empowering the youth as Egypt?
You can, again, they all realize the importance of young people, and they all realize the importance that the future is in the hands of those young people and how much prepared they are to face this future. Prepared from a spirit point of view, that they are strong with their feet on the ground, knowing who they are, where they're going, not particularly the exactly where, but I need to incur an income and I need to get educated, use my education, be in a constant state of education, use my youth network to help each other and to help myself and so on. So this is very important. Of course, the numbers of young people in Egypt are, we represent half the Arab, you very particularly asked about the Arab world. So we represent half of the Arab world, and more than 60% of our own community or our own country is young people. So you're talking about roughly 30% of the Arab world in Egypt. So we're talking about that. There are some Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, for example, where the numbers are run in the millions as well, and some smaller ones like Jordan. But even though Jordan is a much smaller country, the young people over there, their brain power, the entrepreneurship climate that they have over there is very interesting. Talking about countries such as the Emirates, for example, they have a youth ministry. So this is like governed and presided over by a young minister. So it's not youth for youth alone, but it's youth for youth and managed and led by young people. So each country has their own way of dealing with the situation. Saudi Arabia, they need to change or look at different sources of income, and part of looking at different sources of income is the empowerment of young people to generate wealth. Other than the wealth generated by the natural resources that Saudi has. So we're talking about different countries. Egypt is the brain power, it's the technology component, it is the networking power of the Egyptians with our African, it's our position. Logistics is very important. We are in a place where we are near a lot of neighbors with a lot of potential. A lot of challenges, but a lot of potential. So it's you keep asking very difficult questions.
Well, they're going to get simpler by the minute. Well, ladies and gentlemen, also Egypt is not just networking with the Arab youth, but also youth all over the world. And in light of this, it has launched the World Youth Forum in 2017. And this year, the World Youth Forum has decided to redirect its budget into development initiatives. Now, not just meeting in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh and discussing big, timely issues and presenting resolutions and implementations, but also now implementing it in tangible actions on the ground, directing the budget for development initiatives. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Due to the ongoing global economic crisis, the World Youth Forum has announced that it is cancelling this year's edition of the annual event and that its budget will be redirected to supporting 5 development initiatives. This year's World Youth Forum budget will be used to support initiatives with a direct impact on citizens and youth in particular in Egypt and abroad. An initiative will be launched to support small, medium-sized enterprises, help entrepreneurs start their businesses or expand their activities through business incubators. The initiative will also include funded training programs where technical support will be provided to industrial workers in Egypt, especially in villages and towns that fall under the Decent Life Presidential Initiative. The initiative will be launched in cooperation with different development partners, including the Decent Life Foundation, the Presidential National Initiative for Developing Egyptian Industry, the Federation of Egyptian Industries, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the United Nations Development Programme, and the International Labour Organization. The second initiative, dubbed Learning for Earn, aims to qualify Egyptian, Arab and African youth for the labour market and empower them to obtain decent jobs. The initiative will be implemented in cooperation with the United Nations Children's Fund and Egypt's National Training Academy. The third initiative addresses food security challenges by offering support programs to develop the capacities of farmers and those in charge of food industries in Egypt and Africa. The program will be carried out in cooperation with the IBDA Presidential Initiative, National Alliance for Civil Development Work, Decent Life Foundation, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The World Youth Forum will also launch a mental health support program to provide psychological health and community care support for refugees, migrants, and displaced people and their families. The initiative will be carried out in cooperation with the Egyptian Fahim Foundation for Mental Health and the World Health Organization. The fifth initiative is an international project to support and empower refugees and migrants by helping them integrate into educational systems and easing their access to healthcare services and social protection programs. The initiative will be carried out in cooperation with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Egypt, the International Organization for Migration, and Save the Children. The budget allocated to sponsor these initiatives has not been revealed. The World Youth Forum also announced that it will launch a platform to promote volunteering culture and support and qualify volunteers to participate in humanitarian and development work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing our discussion with Dr. Batran. Now, the World Youth Forum is directing its budget towards the developmental initiatives. There are basically 5 ones supporting startups, entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprises, learning to earning, which basically focuses on the employability skills and really taking the freshly graduates to the workforce and empowering them and providing them with all the necessary skills. Food security challenges, which is obviously a very timely challenge as well with the international crisis taking place. The mental health support programs and empowering refugees and migrants, people who have fled the conflict-hit zones. And in light of these initiatives, they have launched a volunteer platform, a platform for volunteers from all around the world. Now, this is not just Arab youth. Mm. Whenever we talk about initiatives, we work on developmental initiatives, sustainable development goals, not just in Egypt, but throughout the whole of Africa, throughout the whole world. Now, how much of a decision do you think this is by the World Youth Forum, which became a very popular forum since 2017, now it's in its 5th edition, directing to put the money where the mouth is and really working on these development initiatives, work on the ground, getting volunteers to work on them?
The World Youth Forum, when it first started, it started off with 111 countries. Mm-hmm. In the last version, including before this year launched last week, we had 189 countries. So we're basically talking about all the world. We started off with 3,000 youth. We reached the number of 8,000 youth at one point. So we're talking about really getting people together. The topics that you mentioned, we're talking about a world that was ravaged by COVID a few years back, ravaged by a very, very complicated crisis within Europe between Russia and Ukraine, and the involvement and the repercussions from a food security point of view, from an energy point of view, from a world stability point of view. So we're talking about a lot of changes in the world. And the very responsible decision to not to group people together, but to empower them and encourage them to work from home, if you will, to work from their own countries, because you know that you are supported, you know you have a network. So really using the network that we have built in the last 5 years, using the courage, using the trust that we managed to build with young people around the world, is that Egypt is taking on an initiative, is taking on volunteers, is using its own network of volunteers everywhere in the world and telling them, let's go forward from where you are and make a difference. And the topics chosen, if we're talking about refugees, Egypt is an example in hosting refugees. Yes. We don't call them refugees, we call them citizens, foreign citizens, if you will. The numbers are breaking the 15 million now from different African and Arab nationalities. And this is an unheard of. You're talking about maybe several countries. Some neighboring countries have a total number of people of 6 million and 5 million. Yes. You're talking about 15 million living in Egypt that do not really belong to Egypt. And we are part of a world with a food crisis, and we are part of a world with changing currency costs and so on. So it's really a challenging situation. So we're choosing the topics where we're saying we need to all work together to embrace the topic and push the topic forward on an agenda to maintain. And talking about refugees is not talking about how do you treat them and but it's preventing the refugee problem in the first place. And this in itself, its essence, is maintaining world peace. So we don't want more problems. So preparing youth and educating them to choose the peaceful alternatives rather than the war alternatives, the war that create refugees, to choose, like another topic, economic empowerment, SMEs, small business development, so economic empowerment rather than war, because war, they break down economies, not build economies. So you are encouraging peace, you are encouraging economy, you are encouraging helping each other out, you are encouraging responsibility, global citizens, if you will, because you're not an Egyptian citizen only. We are Egyptian, but we are Arab, we are African, and we are global. So we are global citizens. And as such, we owe a responsibility to our global partners as well. They are all the initiative, the responsibility of the Egyptian government taking the Egyptian youth leadership, taking the decision to use the trust that they've cultivated over so many years, the networks, the young networks. This is youth power. In the youth year, this is youth power 2.0,
yes.
3.0.
Dr. Batran, now, all these challenges and all these initiatives are quite timely, be it SMEs or food security, refugees and migrants, as you've mentioned, all of these things. And it seems that all these initiatives are done internationally in collaboration with our own national initiatives related to these challenges and topics. And with establishing the platform for volunteers, do you feel that using the expertise or the know-how of even foreign experiences and foreign international initiatives and foreign experiences of the international youth and their volunteer work can only be enriching for our youth and our national initiatives that basically focus on the Egyptian challenges in these regards?
No, they will help us, but they will help everybody else. Volunteerism is one of the most important activities that we have to cultivate in young people in order to be responsible citizens. So volunteerism by itself, it's extremely important.
Yes.
This is number one. Number two, Egypt, by encouraging volunteerism on an international and global level, this denotes the respect that the Egyptian government and the Egyptian state has for international institutions and international collaboration. So by using the trust and using the initiative and using an Egyptian leadership by to enhance youth everywhere in the world, we are also passing through the correct international institutions, whether we're talking about the United Nations, they have youth initiatives as well, the Arab League, the African Union. So you're talking about Egypt as a state with respect and with appreciation and collaboration of international, the European Union, all of the Euromed organizations. So you're talking about Egypt in collaboration of the world, using the infrastructure of the recognized modern global world and using it to make the world a better place. This is a magnificent message and lesson for any young people taking part, or even looking at other young people, and even if they are a little bit, jealous, to make them feel that they want to work a little bit more or be part of, but they're looking at, oh, so Egypt can collaborate with a Jordanian and a South African and do something with the European Commission for the young people of South America. That's a big wow for me. Growing up and using technology. within this context as well, it's a fantastic initiative.
Yes. Do you feel that Egyptian youth should be making really the most of these opportunities, these development initiatives, a year directed and dedicated to Arab youth, the World Youth Forum, all of these things? Do you really feel that the Egyptian youth have a very good chance at really changing not just their own lives, but lives in their respective countries?
I believe that any young people, and much further than this, any person who gets an opportunity to help another person and to help within a cause, even if they are a small drop in an ocean of the cause, or in a big motor of the cause, or in a big cycle of something, I believe that that person should take this opportunity. Because I believe that anything that comes in our way is sent by the divine to help us and guide us and gives us a chance to make the world a better place. So young people definitely should take the opportunity, even if they don't think that this is exactly the right thing that they should be making, but it's a thing that came your way. Maybe this will lead you to the exact thing that you wanted and you had in mind. It will introduce you to the right person that will help you get to your goal and dream. So definitely every opportunity that young people in Egypt and elsewhere in the world, and even common human beings, they should definitely take the chance to help out, to reach out to other people, and let the rules of life take its course.
Yes. Well, this is basically the main thing, as Dr. Batran has mentioned. It's really working on helping the person next to you, being close or far in the same country or on another continent. But it's really basically paying it forward, and the right time to always do something good is always now, especially for the youth in Egypt, in the Arab world, and all around the world. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Dr. Mayed Batran, the former head of the Telecommunications Committee at the Egyptian Parliament and the foresight expert. Dr. Batran, always a pleasure having you with us on the show. Thank you very much, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.